Well, one of the challenges we face because of the Conservatives crashed the economy and the situation we're going to inherit is that we won't be able to reverse everything that the Conservatives have done over the last 13 years. The house building that I'm proposing at the start of conference that we'll be announcing more this week is about actually giving people secure futures and making sure that we can tackle things like child poverty. But we've had 13 years of Conservative failure, a crashed economy, so we're going to inherit a very difficult programme if we were lucky enough to win the next general election, and therefore we're realistic about what we're able to achieve, but we will change Britain for the better.
5 out of 7 new homes in the UK going to migrants. Angela Rayner's attempt to address this claim led to a political firestorm. Her inconsistent responses about housing availability and allocation have left the public reeling. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. In just minutes, Rayner managed to contradict herself multiple times, leaving Labour's housing policy in tatters. From acknowledging a crisis to claiming abundance, her words have sparked national outrage. Stay tuned as we unravel the mess and explore what this means for UK citizens struggling to find homes. Angela Rayner's recent statements on the UK housing crisis have left many scratching their heads. In one breath, she acknowledges a severe housing shortage. In the next, she claims there's plenty of housing available. This baffling contradiction has thrust Labour's housing policy into the spotlight, leaving voters wondering what to believe. The reality of the UK housing market paints a stark picture. Over 270,000 people are currently homeless, a number that's hard to reconcile with Rayner's assertion of abundant housing. It's not just about homelessness, though. The country needs an estimated 1.5 million new homes to keep pace with population growth. Yet the current market struggles to meet even a fraction of this demand. Rayner's claims don't just conflict with each other, they fly in the face of real-world statistics. While she speaks of plentiful housing, families across the UK languish on waiting lists for social housing, sometimes for years. The disconnect between her words and the experiences of ordinary citizens is glaring.
Inflation is about to hit 6%. That's the highest rate since the early 90s, when the Conservatives have been in power for over a decade. That fears about inflation were unfounded. But working people across the country are starting the new year facing rising bills and ballooning prices. So how did he get it so wrong? Millions of British workers now face a further pay cut, and his Chancellor is handing them a tax hike.
This gap between political rhetoric and reality isn't lost on experts. Economists and urban planners have been sounding the alarm about the housing crisis for years. They point to government inaction as a key factor exacerbating the situation. While politicians like Rayner make contradictory statements, the housing shortage continues to worsen, affecting millions of lives. The severity of the housing shortage can't be overstated. It's not just about numbers on a page, it's about families struggling to find affordable homes, young people unable to get on the property ladder, and communities being priced out of their own neighbourhoods. Expert analysis consistently shows that current policies are falling woefully short of addressing these issues. As Rayner's conflicting statements circulate, many are left wondering about the impact of such mixed messaging. How can the public trust politicians to solve the housing crisis when they can't even seem to agree on whether it exists? The confusion sown by these contradictions threatens to undermine any serious efforts to address the problem.
We'll know somebody at the moment who is trapped either in rented accommodation or they're in, substandard accommodation or they're in temporary accommodation because we don't have the social housing we need in this country.
Well, yes, you say you want decent homes for everybody, but you're the one that decided that Labour Lords should vote against the government's nutrient neutrality plans, which they claim would have seen 100,000 new homes built.
To get round the table to make that happen, we put an amendment down which could have delivered on the programme. The government weren't listening. We don't believe that you have to wreck our environment to deliver the homes. We can do both of those things.
The public reaction to Rayner's statements has been swift and largely negative. Opinion polls show growing skepticism towards political pronouncements on housing. Many citizens feel that politicians like Rayner are out of touch with the realities faced by those struggling to find affordable housing. This disconnect is eroding trust in the political process and fueling frustration among voters. As we delve deeper into the fallout from Rayner's interview, it's clear that the implications extend far beyond just housing policy. This incident raises serious questions about political accountability, the reliability of public statements, and the Labour Party's overall credibility. How will this affect voter trust in Labour's broader platform? And what does it mean for the future of UK politics? Labour's housing policy has taken an unexpected turn, and it's raising eyebrows across the political spectrum. Angela Rayner's recent announcement about changing council housing allocation isn't just a minor tweak, it's a fundamental shift that's left many questioning Labour's core values. For years, Labour positioned itself as the champion of working-class Britons, advocating for policies that prioritise social housing for those most in need. Their stance was clear: British citizens should be at the front of the queue when it comes to council homes. This approach resonated with many traditional Labour supporters who felt left behind by years of austerity and rising inequality. But Rayner's latest comments have thrown this long-standing policy into disarray. She stated that Labour would allow migrants to access council homes, effectively abandoning the previous prioritisation of British citizens. This sudden about-face has left many scratching their heads. Is this a carefully calculated strategy to appeal to a broader base, or a monumental blunder that could cost Labour dearly? The motivations behind this policy shift remain murky. Some speculate it's an attempt to court the progressive vote, positioning Labour as a more inclusive and internationalist party. Others see it as a misguided effort to address the housing crisis without tackling the root causes of the shortage. Whatever the reasoning, it's clear that this move has the potential to alienate a significant portion of Labour's traditional support base. Reactions from within the Labour Party have been mixed, to say the least. While some have cautiously backed Rayner's statements, others have distanced themselves, highlighting the growing rift within the party over housing policy. This internal discord is not just a matter of policy disagreement, it's a reflection of deeper ideological divisions that threaten to undermine Labour's cohesion and messaging. The implications of this policy shift extend far beyond housing. It raises questions about Labour's overall platform and its ability to represent the interests of its core constituents. Can the party maintain its appeal to working-class voters while simultaneously advocating for policies that some perceive as prioritising migrants? This balancing act could prove crucial in determining Labour's electoral fortunes. Public opinion polls conducted in the wake of Rayner's interview paint a concerning picture for Labour. Trust in the party's housing policies has taken a significant hit, with many voters expressing frustration at the lack of clear answers and consistent messaging. This erosion of trust isn't limited to housing, it's spilling over into other areas of Labour's platform, casting doubt on the party's overall credibility. As Labour grapples with the fallout from this policy puzzle, one thing is clear: the party's approach to political communication is in desperate need of an overhaul. The contradictions and inconsistencies exposed by Rayner's interview have highlighted the dangers of mixed messaging in the age of instant information and social media scrutiny. How Labour navigates this crisis could well determine its ability to effectively communicate its vision for the future of Britain. Picture this: a politician stands at a podium, confidently declaring their stance on a crucial issue. Now imagine that same politician, just days later, completely contradicting themselves without batting an eye. It's not a hypothetical, it's a disturbing reality of modern British politics. But why do they do it? And more importantly, how is it affecting you? Welcome to the murky world of political doublespeak, where words twist and turn like smoke in the wind. Rayner's recent interview is a textbook example. One moment, she's acknowledging a housing crisis. The next, she's claiming there's plenty of housing available. It's enough to make your head spin. But Rayner isn't alone in this verbal gymnastics. Contradictory statements have become alarmingly common in UK politics. Politicians dance around tough questions, offering vague responses that can mean everything and nothing at once. It's a strategy designed to appeal to everyone while committing to nothing. The psychological impact on voters is profound. When politicians consistently contradict themselves, it breeds confusion and skepticism. People start to question not just individual statements, but the entire political system. Trust erodes, replaced by cynicism and apathy. After all, how can you believe in a system where words seem to have lost all meaning? Political communication experts warn that this trend is far from harmless. Dr. Emma Thompson, a researcher at Oxford University, explains, inconsistent messaging undermines the very foundation of democratic discourse. When voters can't trust what politicians say, they disengage from the political process altogether. The consequences of this disengagement are far-reaching. Voter turnout declines, political polarization increases, and the gap between the government and the governed widens. It's a vicious cycle that threatens the health of our democracy. But the impact goes beyond just politics. As public trust in institutions erodes, it affects everything from economic stability to social cohesion. When people lose faith in their leaders, they're less likely to support important policies or initiatives, even those that might benefit them directly. The rise of social media and 24-hour news cycles has only exacerbated the problem. Every contradiction, every flip-flop is instantly scrutinized and shared. Politicians find themselves trapped in a web of their own words, struggling to maintain consistent narratives in an environment that demands constant communication. So what's the solution? Transparency and accountability are key. Voters need to demand clear, consistent messaging from their representatives. Politicians, in turn, must resist the temptation to say whatever they think will win votes in the moment. As we grapple with the fallout from Rayner's interview and similar incidents, it's clear that the relationship between politicians, the media, and the public is changing. The question is, will this change lead to more honest, transparent communication, or will political doublespeak continue to dominate our discourse? The ball is in our court. As voters, we have the power to demand better. We can refuse to accept vague non-answers and hold our leaders accountable for their words. Only then can we hope to rebuild the trust that's been eroded by years of political doublespeak. Trust in politicians is at an all-time low, but what about trust in those who report on them? The Mail on Sunday's article on Angela Rayner didn't just spark outrage, it raised serious questions about media ethics and responsibility. In an era of clickbait and social media, can political journalism still serve democracy? The public reaction to the Mail on Sunday's coverage of Angela Rayner was swift and scathing. Accusations of misogyny and classism flooded social media, with many condemning the article's sexist undertones. Rayner herself described the piece as misogynistic, sexist, and steeped in classism, highlighting the ongoing issues of sexism in political discourse. The backlash wasn't limited to the public sphere. Even political figures like Labour leader Keir Starmer and Commons Speaker Sir Lindsay joined the chorus of condemnation. This incident sheds light on the broader landscape of UK political reporting. On one side, we have tabloids like the Mail on Sunday, often accused of prioritising sensationalism over substance. On the other, there are outlets striving for fact-based journalism, attempting to navigate the treacherous waters of political bias and public scepticism. The contrast between these approaches couldn't be starker, and it's the public who's left to decipher fact from fiction. The impact of media framing on public understanding of political issues can't be overstated. Studies show that how a story is presented often shapes perceptions more than the facts themselves. In Rayner's case, the focus on her appearance and alleged tactics diverted attention from substantive policy discussions. This kind of framing doesn't just affect public opinion, it can influence the political agenda itself. Media ethics experts argue that journalism in a democracy has crucial responsibilities, providing accurate information, holding power to account, and fostering informed public discourse. But sensationalist reporting often undermines these goals. As one expert put it, when media outlets prioritize clicks over clarity, everyone loses, especially the public. The changing dynamics between politicians, media, and the public are evident in this new landscape dominated by social media and instant news cycles. Politicians like Rayner must navigate an environment where a single misstep can be amplified and distorted within minutes. Meanwhile, traditional media outlets struggle to maintain relevance and credibility in the face of declining trust and increasing competition from alternative sources. This evolving relationship raises important questions about the future of political journalism. Can traditional media adapt to the digital age without sacrificing integrity? How can journalists balance the need for engagement with the responsibility to inform? And perhaps most crucially, how can the public become more discerning consumers of political information? As we grapple with these questions, one thing is clear: the need for democratic accountability has never been greater. Both politicians and the media play crucial roles in shaping public discourse, and both must be held to high standards of transparency and ethical behavior. The Rayner incident serves as a stark reminder of the power of media framing and the importance of critical thinking in our consumption of political information. The Rayner interview fiasco highlights the complex dance between politicians, media, and the public in shaping our political discourse. It's a stark reminder that in today's fast-paced information landscape, critical thinking isn't just a skill, it's a necessity. We can't afford to take political statements or media reports at face value. Instead, we must question, analyze, and seek out diverse perspectives to form our own informed opinions. But the responsibility doesn't rest solely on the public's shoulders. Politicians need to step up their game when it comes to clear, consistent communication. No more doublespeak or vague promises. And the media? They've got to prioritize substance over sensationalism, focusing on the issues that truly matter to society. It's time for a new era of transparency and accountability in both politics and media. Only then can we hope to rebuild trust and foster a healthier democratic discourse. The future of our political system depends on it.